Hello everyone, you're very welcome along on this latest audio walk from open country. My name's Tom and it's a pleasure to have you wandering alongside me today and lending me your ears. You join me on what is a lovely, crisp, early autumnal morning. The sun is poking out through hazy cloud and casting beautiful long shadows across the land. Rain is forecast for later, so I think we ought to put our best foot forward to beat the showers, because we seem to have experienced them quite a lot on recent audio walks, and it'd be nice to keep dry for a change. So our destination today is the mighty Almscliffe Crag, which stands proudly above the Wharf Valley as the river meanders its way through Poole, Arthington, Wheaton, Dunkeswick, and then out through Harewood and Wetherby and that way. It's a large, craggy piece of rock, which is an iconic landmark of the area, because pretty much wherever you are around the Harrogate district, you can see it poking up above the horizon. It's a popular spot with climbers and walkers alike, all trying to conquer it to witness the views that you get from the top. But before we do get there, we can't discount the lovely walk that we should be able to enjoy along the way, as well as we walk across this beautiful rolling countryside that stands between us here at Stainburn Church, where we're starting the walk, and that wonderful towering crag of rock, Almscliffe Crag. So, as we always do at this point on our audio walks, let's put our best foot forward and crack on with this latest edition. I have to say, Stainburn Church is looking resplendent in this low, early morning autumn sun. It's an ancient church. It's only small, but it's really quaint. I've got a funny story, actually, of this place. I was once walking here on a lovely summer's day, and there's a bench just outside the entrance porch, and I was just sitting there, just enjoying the sun that was beating down on me, and a couple came along and started asking me all of these difficult questions about the history of the church. And to be honest, I think they thought I was a tour guide, and if they did think I was a tour guide, I'm sure they were quite disappointed with the answers that I gave. It's a lovely start to this walk. It's a wonderful little churchyard with these old gravestones that are higgledy-piggledy leaning from one side to the other. It's quite overgrown here as well. There's lots of long grass that is slowly turning brown as we approach the height of the autumn. It's also covered in bracken, which is heading a similar colour. And it's flanked by lots of lovely trees. You may be able to hear some of the birds perching in them in the background. Also seen some swallows darting around. I'm sure it'll soon be time for them to head off back down south, by which I mean further than London, as they escape the wintry climes here for the warmer conditions of Southern Europe and Northern Africa. So from here we're going to make our way down towards Stainburn village, which I suppose is more of a hamlet really. It's made of a few houses and farms, and then we'll cross the open farmland, which should also be resplendent on this lovely morning with the sun beating down on us, and soon we'll be able to see the outline of Almscliffe Crag majestically silhouetted behind this wonderful facade of early autumn. We've just walked down a beautiful old farm track. The beginning of it was like a natural tunnel with sycamore trees towering above us and holly trees making up the boundaries of the track. Then it opened out a bit, and it was then flanked by two crumbling old stone walls, which are very typical of this area. It's grassy underfoot, and the dew on the grass is sparkling in the sunshine beautifully. And as I promised earlier on, the silhouette of Almscliffe Crag is now in sight in front of us. This bumpy structure standing dramatically above the rolling farmland that we're currently walking through. Apart from the drone of a strimmer in the background, it's a beautifully peaceful day. I must admit though, I'm glad I'm looking straight ahead, because if I turn to look behind me, the grey clouds are starting to amass. I can just make out the floodlit by the sun outline of the spire of Stainburn Church, which is now looking very dramatic against that grey backdrop. So I suppose we better motor on before we get engulfed by these clouds, and hopefully we still should have a little bit of sun to light our way as we head towards our destination of Almscliffe Crag. This looks an interesting section. Looks like we're going to have to cross through a ford, as there's water crashing across. Well, I say crashing, it's more trickling really. I'm making it more dramatic than it is. But it is still quite deep, so I'm glad I'm wearing my good old trusty waterproof walking boots. So I think if I aim for this rock here and across this way, I've also got a gate to deal with as well. It's all happening here, isn't it? It does look like the cows have been busy here as well, because let's just say it's quite muddy underfoot. Little tricky section, but that's what makes these walks what they are. You don't feel like you've been on a walk, do you, unless you encounter a few hills, a bit of mud and a few tricky sections underfoot. And there we go, safely out at the other side. Let's hope the rest of the route isn't as dramatic. The domineering structure of Almscliffe Crag is now getting larger and larger on the horizon as we make our final approach up to it. The sun's gone in now, and I've just felt my first little spots of rain. But there's still this beautiful glow on the horizon behind the crag, which is backlighting it and making it look so dramatic. You can also just see the outline of a single figure walking along the ridge of the rocks at the edge of the crag. It really is a wonderful sight. Just to think that'll be us in a moment as we scale the rocky crags and enjoy the vistas that you can get from the top of it. And fingers crossed, the view won't be obscured by pouring rain when we do get there. As the sun starts to come out again, we've got a red kite circling above us. It's just trying to chase off a pigeon that was obviously encroaching on its territory. beautifully majestic birds with a wingspan of up to 2 metres, which when you're looking at them from a distance like we are at the moment, you think that's hardly believable. But I suppose if they were a lot closer, then you would feel their majesty. Although they are scavenging birds, they don't necessarily hunt for prey. You still wouldn't like to be something in the undergrowth with one of those flying over you. I certainly wouldn't anyway. Anyway, with this sun doing its best to continue to illuminate our way here, I suppose we ought to crack on and get up Almscliffe Crag as quickly as we can and enjoy this wonderful light. We're right underneath the crag now. The sun is shining down from above it, but yet there are spots of rain that keep falling down. I suppose these are the conditions that you expect if you come in early autumn. It is so dramatic, the outline of the crag as I'm looking up at it now, pockmarked by the weatherings of time and illuminated from behind by that sun. It's creating a very moody atmosphere. The air is also quite whiffy. There's a tractor over the other side of the crag filling up its trailer with slurry ready to fertilise the fields. And to cap it all off, we've just walked through a field full of Frisian cattle, which were also adding to the aroma. Anyway, we're going to head up on top of the crag now. There are 3 ways that you can get there. You can either climb up the rocky facade, which a few people are already doing in front of me. You can go straight through the middle, which is quite rocky, but at least you don't need ropes and hard hats to do it. Or you can go up the easy route up the back, which is a sort of gentle slope compared to the rest of the ways up. And I think, as it is a leisurely experience on these audio walks, that we probably should go up the most leisurely way. So let's head round the back and head up on top of these dramatic rocks. Well, I have to say, we've timed that perfectly. I'm just going to sit down here and get my breath back after that little short, steep climb up. This place exudes history. The rocks have got all carved names from people who have done the same trip as us over the years. And it also has these little footmarks where people have worn steps into the rock. The reason I say we've timed this perfectly is with the combination of squally showers and this sun that keeps poking through in between. As we crested the edge of the crag, we were confronted by this frame of a colourful rainbow. Absolutely spectacular, just framing the rocks and the landscape beyond. Although the far distant horizon is quite hazy with these showers that are passing through, the immediate landscape illuminated by that glorious sunshine is absolutely stunning. You can see the crisscrossing lines of the dry stone walls, and in the fields you can just see the pinpricks of white and black, which are sheep and cows. Just being up here is such a majestic experience, so uplifting to see the colour of that rainbow, to see the sun illuminating the fields around us, and to think that we've just got this magnificent vantage point across the valley on such a beautiful day. I'm going to be loath to tear myself away from this wonderful spot, but in a moment we'll make our way back down off the crag and head back along the road back towards Stainburn and the church where we started. But for now, I'm just going to sit here look at the view and just feel thankful that I can be in a place like this. And it's a pleasure to have you sharing this moment with me. It appears that we've got a flock of migrating geese flying overhead, pointing us back in the direction of Stainburn Church. So I suppose I'm going to have to make my way down off the rocks here and see if we can meander our way back to where we started from, leaving these magnificent views behind. I might try and get down the slightly trickier way in between the rocks, so bear with me a moment. There we go, I'm down. That really was a wonderful experience. I can still see the outline of the horizon in front of me, which is the ridge of Otley Shevin, which I've featured on these audio walks before. And beyond that, you can just about make out in the haze Ilkley Moor. But I suppose on a trip like this, it's more the immediate things close to us that are catching my eye. The texture of these rocks, the way that they are mottled and weather-worn. Just feeling the one at the side of me, it's rough, but also quite, when you look at it from a reasonable distance, it looks quite languid and curved from the weather that's berated it over the millions of years that it's been here. Just makes you feel quite small, actually, and we are really just a millisecond in terms of the expanse of time that has come before us and will go on afterwards as well. You see, this place is getting me all philosophical. Let's meander our way back down and head back to where we started. And I'm sure the breeze which is picking up will blow away any philosophizing that I'm doing now and get me back on the straight and narrow. The breeze has really picked up now. You may be able to hear it in the background, whipping through the leaves of the trees. They're still just about hanging on in there. We're underneath an ash tree at the moment, which is still very green in colour. It hasn't started to take on those autumnal hues just yet. It's probably a good job, because with a breeze like this, it wouldn't keep hold of those leaves very long later on in the season. We're walking back along this long, straight, narrow, single track road now, and as I turn around, the outline of Almscliffe Crag is just a pinprick on the horizon once again, just bringing back those wonderful memories of being up there and seeing that rainbow. Absolutely spectacular. Anyway, we'll carry on back towards Stainburn and hopefully we'll witness a few more lovely things before we get there. And if we do, then of course you'll be the first to know. We've left the roadside now again for the final time. We're heading back across the fields that are rolling across this top end of the Wharf Valley. And to be honest, I've just had the fright of my life. A rabbit, which must have been hunkering down in the grass at my feet, suddenly just shot out and ran like the wind away from me. I don't know who had the more greater shock, whether it was me or the rabbit. Probably the rabbit, to be honest. Of course, this time of year is harvest time, and I've just walked past an apple tree at the corner of somebody's garden, seeing all the windfall apples on the floor surrounding it and the tree burgeoning with these beautiful fruits just pulling the branches down under their own weight. Seeing this and the brambles covered in blackberries as well. It's giving me cravings for a blackberry and apple crumble, I must admit. Anyway, as the sun disappears even more behind these growing grey clouds, I think it's about time we headed back towards the church before we get doused in anything heavier than we have been already. After another beck crossing and another steep, sharp hill climb, we've reached the rickety stile back into the haven that is Stainburn churchyard. It's amazing to think what we've witnessed and experienced since we were last here at the beginning of the audio walk. Although it seems like only a few minutes ago, it also feels like it could have been last year as well. It really has been an enjoyable walk, and I do hope you've enjoyed listening to me describing everything that I've witnessed along the way today. If you have, then please check out more of Open Country's audio walks at opencountry.org.uk, where you can also find out about the activities that we provide as well in helping people with disabilities to access and enjoy the countryside. You can also donate if you'd like to as well. All the details are on our website. Anyway, I'm going to go back to the shelter of my car as the sun gives me one last glimpse of itself before these grey clouds take over and the rain that was forecast for later in the day engulfs us. But until the next audio walk outing, thank you ever so much for lending me your ears once again. I will see you, or at least talk to you, next time.